friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing our 2026 mid-year book tag. If you haven't seen one of these before, it is basically going through a bunch of questions to review my reading and books that I've read so far in 2026. This is a little bit late, but we are past the mid-year point, so I'm only going to be talking about things that I have read between the start of January and the end of June. Without further ado, let's get into the video. This video was inspired by the lovely Lauren Lucy, so I will tag her YouTube channel down below in the description. Make sure to go check her out and subscribe whilst you're there. I've got 13 questions to go through here. I've written them all down on my notepad. The first question is a new release that I haven't read yet but want to. I've taken this as a release that has come out in 2026 because we're talking about reading in 2026, so that's what I'm going with. For this, there's a few different options. I think the top of my list for books in 2026 that I am desperate to read, I'm going to go for Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. I only started my reading journey this year in 2026 in January, and so far what I've read of Carly Fortune just feels so wholesome, so nostalgic, and a feeling that I love so deeply is nostalgia. So any kind of writing that I consume that gives me that feeling is instantly a win for me, and just her style and how she writes about things just really makes me feel young again and I love that. So for this, I'm going to go with Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. The next question is a book I've read this year that I would reread, and the first book that popped to mind for me was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I adored this book so much. Again, wholesome, so incredibly wholesome. I loved the setting, I loved the characters, I loved the fact that there is a talking octopus. Well, actually, narrating, like there's chapters written from the octopus's perspective basically, and I just loved that. And I know I basically finished reading it. I borrowed a copy from my friend, and then when I finished it and I went to 66 Books, they had the hardback version, and so I bought that because I knew that I would reread it in the future. So that book just has to win that category for me. For the third prompt, this is a book, there's a fly in here. This is a book with the most unique concept. I had a little look through the list of books that I've read this year, because on first thought I was like, oh, that's quite a difficult prompt, like I can't think of one. And I'm going to take this in terms of what I've read so far, obviously. And for me, I would have to say The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. The main way I describe this book, it's magical realism. It feels real. It's very much following someone in the real world. However, there is that magical element, and I haven't read anything like this in this style before. But to sort of summarize the concept of the book, following a book publicist, and she goes to her apartment and it has a temporary roommate, but that temporary roommate lives 7 years in the past. So sometimes when she goes to her apartment, that person's there. Sometimes when she goes to the apartment, that person's not there and she's in the present day. And it's just sort of following that dynamic, and it's so interesting, so fun, such a fun read, and again, very wholesome, very light-hearted, very summery. I would definitely say it's like an ultimate poolside summer read in my opinion, but definitely a really unique concept in comparison to other books that I've read so far this year. Okay, prop number 4 is a book that I thought I would love, but I didn't. And I feel so savage saying this, but this one has to be The Names by Florence Knapp. I've seen so many mixed reviews on this book, but for me it did just not hit the spot. I think the way that it had been maybe advertised and explained online, and the synopsis of it made it sound like the story was mainly going to be focusing on what was going to happen in this child's life dependent on the name they had. Basically, if you've not heard of the book, if you don't know what it's about, it is following 3 timelines of the same person, but each one of those timelines, that person has a different name. Someone's son, 3 different names, what happens in his life depending on that. But actually, once you get into the book, and quite early on in the book, for me, it more seemed like it was more focused on domestic violence and what would happen if you essentially did what your abuser wanted you to do, and what would happen if you didn't. And I don't think it was sending a good message personally, and that made me feel quite icky and uncomfortable, because I don't know, I don't want to explain it without, I don't want to spoil the book in case people want to read it, but for me, the message from it, that fly is so aggressive. The message that I felt came from the book was not a good one, and is not one that I think should be maybe encouraged. Yeah, I think I just felt really let down by the book, and it just, yeah, wasn't for me, and probably the most disappointing read I've had this year so far, and I'm sorry. A more positive prompt now, a book that I haven't stopped thinking about. I think for me, the book that I haven't stopped thinking about since I read it would have to be Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is the first book I read this year that actually made me feel all fuzzy and like emotional, and I was literally holding the book after I read it like, oh my goodness, I love that so much. It just was so beautifully written, such a beautifully told story, and I can't think of anyone in my life that I wouldn't recommend it to. Just such a great book, and there were just so many parts of it that have stuck with me. Just how the whole story is written, and how engrossed you get into the book, how invested you get into the characters. I absolutely loved it. I loved being that engrossed in the book, and yeah, I would definitely say it's a book that I've not been able to stop thinking about since I read it. The next prompt is a book with mixed reviews that I loved. And this might be controversial. I'm actually going to say 2 books here, but I'm going to go for the second and third book in the Housemaid series. So I believe it's called The Housemaid's Secret and The Housemaid is Watching, books 2 and 3. And there's really mixed reviews on these books. There's quite a lot of negative reviews. I have read some of the 1-star reviews, and they did make me laugh, but I actually really enjoyed them. I found them very twisty, and in comparison to the first book, the first Housemaid book, I guessed the twist very, very early on in the book. However, in the second and third book, it kept me on my toes. I didn't guess the twist. It kept me guessing. I couldn't see things coming. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's the first series that I've completed this year, and with that, I felt really invested in the characters and their lives, and it was just really fun. So if you're umming and ahhing about reading the second and third Housemaid book, let this be your sign to give it a go, because you might really enjoy it. And I will say, the third one I actually read on holiday, and I thought it was quite a good summer thriller read. So if you're looking for a thriller to read this summer, that could be a good option. The next prompt is a book I want to finish by the end of 2026. I feel like I'm gonna have to say Sunrise on the Reaping. And the reason I say that is because before I get to that book, I need to read Mockingjay, and I need to read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I want to read Sunrise on the Reaping before the film comes out, because that's a film I desperately want to go and see in the cinema. I've got to get through a couple of books before I get to Sunrise on the Reaping. That is definitely going to be a book that I'm desperate to finish before the end of this year. It was actually one of the first books I added onto my TBR this year, if not the first book. So I really should finish it before the end of this year. The next prompt is favourite new author, and that is so easy for me to answer. It would have to be Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know I've already mentioned one of her books in this, but I just love the way that she writes. Every book that I've read by her so far makes me feel something so deeply, emotionally. I just love how she writes. I think she can cover some really heavy, difficult topics, but in such an eloquent, empathetic and soft way that it just feels safe. Going into any of her books feels safe. So I would definitely say Taylor Jenkins Reid is my new favourite author. The next prompt is such a sweet one, and it is a book that made me miss a loved one. I'm gonna have to go for Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, just because this book made me feel so deeply nostalgic and miss like childhood friends that I've lost contact with. It made me think of summer holidays and days out with friends that maybe I don't see as much anymore, that I don't see at all anymore, and it brought back all of these sort of lovely, wholesome memories. It's missing old friendships and simpler times and being young and being a child and being naive and just enjoying the summer with your friends. That is definitely a feeling that this book gave me. Next up, we've got a book that should be made into a movie. I was going to say Atmosphere, but I believe that it's already been confirmed that it's being made into a movie. And then I was going to say The Great Alone, but I also believe that has been said that it's going to be made into a movie. So I had another think, and for this prompt, I am going to go with The Wedding People by Alison Despatch. I just think this would be such a fun film. There's definitely heavy topics in this book, but it has some really positive twists and it becomes really fun and silly, and it's quite a funny book if you like dark humour. But I just think it could be a really nice, wholesome film, and one that I would definitely go and see if it was made into a film. Moving on to the last few prompts, these are more sort of stats-based statistics. So the first one is how many books I've read so far this year. So between January 1st and the 30th of June, I have read 37 books so far, which I think is pretty good going. I started the year off saying that I wanted to read 20 books this year. I had to change my goal to 50 because I've completed that pretty quick. 37 books so far this year. And then my next prompt is, where am I up to with my Goodreads goal? So I'm 74% of the way through my Goodreads goal, which is pretty good going. I'm basically 3/4 of the way there, halfway through the year. So I should definitely hit that before the end of 2026. And the final prompt for the video is my goals for the rest of this year, my bookish goals. And that's such a interesting one and fun one because I love goals, I love setting goals. So I think the main goals for the rest of this year, goal number 1 would be to hit my 50 books of the year. I just think that would be really cool. I think I would like to beat my days read that I've been hitting on Fable, because back in May or June I hit 62-day reading streak, and then I lost it. I lost my reading streak, and I'm now on a 16-day reading streak. How many days are left of the year? Oh, 170 days. I would like to beat my 62-day reading streak. I'm currently on 16, so to at least get a 63-day reading streak. I also would love for this YouTube channel, this might sound ambitious, but I would love to hit my first 1,000 subscribers. I'm currently on 435, and if I could hit 1,000 by the end of this year, that would just be incredible. And yeah, I've been working really hard, so that is definitely a goal that I would like to hit by the end of the year. And then another social media one I think would be to hit 1,000 followers over on my Bookstagram account. If you don't follow me over there, it is Books with Jess Cooper. It's all linked down below in the description. And then my final goal for reading, I think, would be to finish the Hunger Games series because I so desperately want to. But I'll be honest, I got to Mockingjay as it started to become a bit hotter and a bit more summery, and something about the Hunger Games just doesn't really feel like a summer read to me. I need it to be a bit of a more gloomy day, and we've not really had much of that recently. It's been really hot and sunny. So yeah, I really want to finish the Hunger Games series, and I will do it. I will do it. That is my goals for the rest of 2026. And that's it, guys. That is my mid-year reading review, reading tag. This was really fun. It's really fun to kind of reflect on everything I've read so far this year and think about what books I would put in with which prompts. If you are a booktuber or a bookstagrammer or a booktoker, I would definitely recommend giving this a go. It's so much fun. And comment down below if you've read any of these books or what you would answer for some of these prompts as well. I would love to hear more from you guys. And yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you next week for another video. Bye guys.